That's right. Welcome in, welcome back, folks, to a multiple people have sent me an article in the last couple days. Somebody wrote saying Notre Dame will never win another championship in football. We need to go over this and break it down together, see if it makes sense or not. Edition of the Always Irish Show. Don't like this topic, but happy to be with you. Obviously, you can find the program on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate it very much. Give the video a thumbs up. Helps me as well. Notifications on. That way you're alerted every time a new episode drops. You don't want to miss it. Twitter. Search bar. Always Irish Rat. Always Irish Shane. Emails. Always Irish ND@gmail.com. Audio only. Anywhere you would like to find the program, you can find the program. The call-in line. 312-988-15. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen, all right? Fighting Irish Wire. You type it into your computer box. Notre Dame stories come out of it and you read them. It's beautiful. Go there every day. Also, you got your tickets yet? Tickets for what? Johnny, Ohio State, Notre Dame? No! July 9th. Forever Young Sports. Forever Young Sports Cards. Crown Point, Indiana. Sam Hartman's first public Notre Dame NIL opportunity. Get an autograph with Sam. Wish him good luck. Welcome him to town. Hope he does well. Get your kid an autograph. Get yourself 2 autographs. Say hi to me. Play some bags. Talk a little ND. We're going to have ourselves a day. Visit foreveryoungsportscards.com for further details, informations, and most importantly, to purchase your tickets to this premium event. All right. Now, let me set this up. I didn't see this article. I don't even know what website this is. I don't know where it came from. I don't know the guy writing it. But I know multiple Notre Dame people sent it to me and said, you should talk about this, or I at least wanted you to see it. What do you make of it? We're going to go over it together. So I'm going to pull this up and we're going to go through some of it and look at the reasoning and rationale for why this person says he doesn't think Notre Dame will ever win another championship. So let me try and move this over so we can see this. All right, there we go. So TWSN. I don't know what that means. I'm not being rude. I don't know what TWSN is. MJ Lofink wrote the article. I don't know who these people are, but they're writing a sports blog, and the title is Why Notre Dame Will Never Win Another College Football National Championship. Now, before we even get into it, let's first just discuss, do you agree with that or not? Before we get into the reasons why and all those bullet points, do you agree with that? Because I don't think I do. I don't think I do. Now, if you asked me, do I think Notre Dame's well-positioned to win a championship? No. If you ask me, does Notre Dame have extra hurdles to win another championship? Yes. If you ask me, is Notre Dame's administration doing everything they can to put the football program in a position to win championships? I'm going to say 100% no. 100% no. So while I think it's, fewer far between are going to be the opportunities for Notre Dame to win a championship, in no way am I going to say they'll never win another one. It's just that the margin for error Notre Dame has to get it done is much smaller. This is all about margin for error and leeway and flexibility. And there's no doubt it's going to be harder for Notre Dame to win a championship than at a lot of other places for all the reasons we know about. NIL, grades, pay for play. Undergraduate transfers aren't really allowed. You actually have to go to class, cold weather, like all of that stuff you hear about. All of that stuff you hear about all the time. It all makes it hard. You got to realize the way I look at this. Oftentimes, Notre Dame's own administration works against its own self-interest regarding football. That's sick to me. It's disturbing to me. It hurts me. It's offensive to me. It's hypocritical to me. But there are a lot of instances where Notre Dame is its own worst enemy on the football field, not who we play. Oh, John, what do you mean? Give me an example. I'll give you an example. Ludwig. Example one, not getting the Goog done or another football building 5 years ago when Kelly was yelling at it. We still don't have it. Number two, not finding a way to get undergraduate transfers into the football program. There's number three, not doing big time NIL. There's number four. Do I got to keep going? Again, nobody that loves Notre Dame genuinely is asking to cut corners and cheat and do pay for play, hire criminals to play football. We don't want that. But my point is, not everybody's pulling from the same end of the rope at Notre Dame in terms of getting this to be elite. There are a lot of self-imposed guardrails Notre Dame puts on themselves before you even worry about the competition. So in those ways, it's going to be a lot harder for Notre Dame to win another championship. In a lot of ways, they're playing against themselves and the other teams. When you self-impose and restrict what you could do compared to the people that you're trying to beat, what they could do. So there's no doubt about it. It's going to be harder to do it at Notre Dame than other places. But is it impossible? Absolutely not. Are you going to say never? I could never confidently say it could never happen again. It's just going to take the perfect team with the perfect circumstances, good luck, good break, a great player that shines. Maybe you get one of these quarterbacks that's actually the best player in the country somehow, and you could ride him into that new playoff. Get a home game in South Bend, beat somebody in the snow, catch a good break the next week. Like, it could happen. It could happen. But it's just going to be a lot harder. Notre Dame has a lot less margin for error in every single measurable football way than every other team you consider, a top 10 or 12 program. So if they ever do it again, it's acknowledge it's harder here to get over that hump. So the overall premise, I disagree with. I am not going to say they'll never win one, but am I going to admit it's going to be a lot harder to do than it is a lot of other places? Yeah. It's going to take a perfect year where everything breaks your way. More so even in the 12-team playoff. It ain't like 2012 where you could go 12-0, and if you just beat one more team on one night by 1 point, you're the champions. They're not even going to have that opportunity. Notre Dame's going to have to beat a string of teams to do it. So, hell yeah, it's going to be harder to do, but I'm not going to say never. That being said, let's get into this and see what this guy says. See what we think about his comments. Notre Dame football is arguably the biggest brand in college sports. Long history of tradition and success. They claim 11 titles, their most recent one in 88, and unfortunately, they will never see another one again. That is depressing. I will go over several contributing factors that ultimately lead me to believe Notre Dame cannot win another championship. I would like to know cannot and will not are two very different things. So I find that wording interesting. Cannot and will not mean very different things to me. So that stands out. Number one, recruiting. The Irish simply cannot recruit at the same echelon as schools like Alabama and Ohio State do. They still pull in great classes, but their academic standards put a much lower ceiling on their recruiting classes. Their shortcomings on the recruiting trail make them a less talented team than the other big-time programs around the country. And it is shown that whenever they get in a college football playoff berth, accumulating several embarrassing losses on the national stage. All right. Let's look at this. I mean, yes, the recruiting's an issue, but I disagree with some of why. Like, I would say the NIL pay-for-play acquisition fee is holding Notre Dame back more than the academic standards right now. And it's like, if you wanted to ask me, where do I get off saying that? Well, we had 3 5-star guys either committed or silently committed to Notre Dame last year. They didn't end up coming here, but it wasn't because of the grades. We had 3 5-stars last year that could get into Notre Dame that had interest. So I think it's more about the NIL and the pay-for-play and the acquisition fee for the top guys than it is academics. But when you combine struggles in both, it does get tough. But I would say that acquisition fee is holding Notre Dame back more than the academics. And the evidence I just gave you last year, all 3 of those 5-stars that were interested in us could get in. So that wasn't the issue. It's the other stuff. Okay? So I disagree a little bit on that reason why. Undergraduate transfers, not being able to be more flexible in that portal, I'd put that as being a factor. This guy doesn't mention. Okay? But in terms of accumulating several embarrassing losses on the national stage, yeah, thanks for pointing it out. I'm painfully aware of my existence. So I guess overall, yeah, like if he just would have put recruiting as I agree with number one, we have issues there and governors on what we could do other teams don't have. I'll agree with that. But I don't think the biggest reason is academics anymore. May have been before, but I don't think it is anymore. It's not offering these guys what the other people are offering. So agree with the recruiting, but some of the details I don't. Let's see what else. Additionally, their location is not an attractive spot for kids who are native to southern states like Texas and Florida, which is coincidentally where a high percentage of the top players in the country play football. All right. The issue with that point is if being a northern, colder weather team is a reason you can't recruit well, then you got to explain to me why Ohio State's in the top 5 every year. If Indiana has bad weather, nobody wants to be in, and up north, away from where the bulk of the talent is, how in hell is OSU in the top 3 or 5 every damn year? And oh, by the way, you ain't going to like it, neither am I. Michigan's probably going to be in or near the top 5 this year. So you can't go with the northern cold weather, not where the hotbed of talent is. You can't do that argument without telling me why it doesn't also affect Ohio State and to a lower extent, Michigan. So that argument alone doesn't carry the weight when I can point right down the toll road to Ohio State, who has no problem being in the top 5. So I got to kind of push back on that one. So let's move on to bullet point 2, being independent. Even among the changing landscape where conference realignment's the norm, the Irish have remained independent. In the current playoff format, winning a conference championship acts as a safety net for teams who sustained a loss in the regular season. Without that, Notre Dame has to rely on the committee deciding if they're good enough. They don't have the luxury of controlling their own destiny like Georgia or Alabama. All right. Here's point number one. This bullet point was wholly applicable up until the moment they announced they're going to 12 teams. This concern was exactly one that I've been talking about when the playoff was just 4 teams. Because without that conference championship window, net, safety net, opportunity, whatever you want to call it, we've seen Notre Dame pretty much has to go undefeated or you're getting left out. So in the 4-teamer, I agreed with this a lot more. But this guy's ignoring that it's going to 12. So now Notre Dame has way more leeway now. You don't have to be perfect. Before, we had to literally be perfect. We have not made the playoff not being perfect. That's a lot of pressure. You can't lose one game. But now that it's gone to 12, there's a lot more leeway and a lot more relaxation on some of that pressure to have to join a conference. And if you got an NBC TV exec as your next AD, the next reason you would want to join a conference is for that TV money. But I'm assuming they're hiring Bavacqua to figure that part out and get Notre Dame a good deal. So now that you've gone to 12, I don't feel that intense pressure there was with 4 to have to be undefeated or you're out. And then the secondary part with the TV money of why a conference would have been enticing, I think you just worked around it with Bavacqua as the new AD, having that TV history. So that bullet point to me, I don't like. I don't think it's a moot point now. Notre Dame could go 10-2 and make this 12-team playoff. So that bullet point I disagree with. It would have applied a few years ago, but it doesn't anymore. Let's move on to number 3, coaching. BK left South Bend following the 21 season to become the LSU coach. Since then, head coach Marcus Freeman hasn't impressed in the slightest. There's 100% still time for him to improve as a coach, but I'm not sure I see him. I'm getting distracted by this underwear. Look at this. I'm trying to read an article. I got leather pants and bras in my face. It's hard to keep my eyes on the prize here. The heck's going on? This is a family show. Jeez. There's 100% still time for him to improve, but I'm not sure I see him becoming a top coach in the country. He has not shown up in big games, blowing a large lead in his debut against Oklahoma State and then blowing a halftime lead against Ohio State in the first game the next year. He'll have a chance to shut me up when the Buckeyes roll into South Bend, but I have severe doubts they'll be able to get the job done. Because of all these reasons, I'll be shocked if we see another Notre Dame championship. Their time has passed. They will hover around 9 or 10 wins every season, make the 12-team playoff, but they'll never get back to the powerhouse they once were. All right, so this guy messed up by acknowledging the 12-team playoff here, but not in the bullet point about accessing the playoff in bullet point 2 about independence. So bad authoring, like logical inconsistencies here, that you mentioned the 12-teamer here, but you didn't when you went off about the independence thing. So I got a logical problem with that. Here's the other thing. It says he has not shown up in big games. Is he ignoring the roster that Freeman inherited? Is he ignoring an injury to the starting quarterback that ruined the entire last year. And I still question how fair it is to really nail all of that Fiesta Bowl loss on Freeman, trying to get that team bowl ready, major bowl ready, right after he got hired. Had to do the national media tour of getting hired at Notre Dame. What coaches are staying, what coaches are going, what players are going, what players are staying. All of the behind the scenes stuff that went into that little window between Freeman getting that job and having to coach in that bowl game, with all of Kelly's schemes, Kelly's coaches, Kelly's players, all of that. I don't know how fair it is to nail him for blowing that lead. Certainly, he's got to be responsible for part of it. But that was such a one-off, bizarre, wild set of circumstances and timing. It's hard for me to know how much of that to nail him on. So that's the first part. But hasn't shown up in big games. He didn't have a roster to go into big games with. Even Buckner healthy week 1 against Ohio State. I still don't like that. Even before his injury and against Ohio State, you had no idea what you were going to get. Barely saw the guy throw the ball around at all. And oh, by the way, are we forgetting he had nobody to throw it to last year other than the tight end, especially early in the year? So it seems like we're ignoring the roster he inherited completely, and we're ignoring the injuries completely. And I have an issue with that. I do. And then here's the other part of this. Then he says, I'll be shocked if we ever see another Notre Dame national championship. I'll be shocked. If the title of the article was, I'd be surprised if Notre Dame won it all again, that's a lot different message than Notre Dame's never going to win it again. Those are two different things. The headline's saying they're never going to win it, and then he's saying in here he'd be shocked if they did. I'd be shocked too, but that's different than saying it isn't going to happen. Totally different things. And then here's the last part of this. It's kind of funny to me. This is kind of funny to me. The last part of this is they're like, oh yeah, I don't think Freeman's going to get it done. You know, Notre Dame's never going to win it again forever. Like that, the coaching was the last bullet point. Here's my question. Is Marcus Freeman the last head coach Notre Dame's ever going to have? Like, I'm having trouble connecting that when he's like, I don't think Freeman's going to have what it takes to be an elite coach. And then right after that, Notre Dame's never going to win it again. Is Freeman either going to live forever and be the only coach Notre Dame has forever? Is the program shutting down after Freeman? Like, how is this guy ignoring the rest of eternity past Marcus Freeman? He just kind of wrote that all off. So I guess Freeman's either living forever, not going to win anything, or Freeman leaves and there's no more Notre Dame head coach. Like, it's a little short-sighted to me that this guy ignored whatever's going to happen after Freeman to the rest of time until an asteroid hits the world. So, you know what this seems to me when I look at this, and I'm a guy who writes these articles too. This comes off to me as not a guy who covers Notre Dame often or specifically. And it also comes off to me as a guy who's like, I need to reach a quota for articles this week. Notre Dame generates some heat. I'm going to put this up and type up my bullet points real quick. because there's some philosophical inconsistencies within his bullet points that I just pointed out. Kind of seems like I'm going on vacation. I got to rip an article off before I leave to get my quota in, because there's just some philosophical things logically that aren't lining up for me that bother me. But what do you guys think? I am not going to say it's impossible. Notre Dame's never going to win another one. Am I going to say it's going to be a lot harder to do it here than other places? You're damn sure. You're damn sure I'm going to say that. Am I going to say that we have a smaller margin for error in recruiting and development and everything else to get over the hump? Yep, I'm absolutely going to say that. Am I going to say that for Notre Dame to do it, it has to be a magical year where everything goes right? Everybody emerges you need to. You have some stars. You catch good luck, good breaks, a good injury year, not a lot of problems. Maybe a softer schedule, get a lucky break in the playoff. Yeah, catch another team on a bad day, catch them on a snowy day in the new playoff. Yep. It's going to be a lot harder, but it isn't impossible. The day I think it's impossible is the day that I no longer do this show, because there's no point. There's no point. If I felt that way, why am I here? There's no point. So, what do you guys think about this? What do you think about this title, the bullet points? Am I right? Is this guy right? Who's wrong? Let me know what you think. Have a good one.